Welcome back to A Simple Word, where we speak about the gospel for the coming Sunday and help you to prepare to listen to that gospel. We're still reading the Gospel of Matthew, and this week we hear Jesus saying that the scribes and the Pharisees have taken their seat on the chair of Moses. So, in other words, they have the responsibility of teaching to the people, preaching about the law. And he says, so do and observe all the things that they tell you to do, whatever they tell you, but don't follow their example. Now, this advice seems to go against the grain, against what we already learned when we were younger. A very important principle is practice what you preach. And yet, so often, we see, not only in the people that we're listening to, also in ourselves, that it's difficult to live the values that we've been given. And why is that? Because we believe in something, and often we can follow what we believe in, but then at other times we don't want to do it. Jesus helps us. He says, whoever exalts himself will be humbled, but whoever humbles himself will be exalted. In other words, if we want to live according to our values, we're called to humble ourselves. What does this mean? How can one humble himself? And what I've learned after listening to the Desert Fathers is, in the face of humiliation, don't run away. In the face of humiliation, don't run away. So often when we feel humiliation, we want to leave. We don't want to experience it. We think that this is the one place we should not be. And yet, if we can endure humiliation, then we can experience the same thing that Christ experienced on the cross, because he too underwent a tremendous humiliation, but he was determined to stay there. Why? Because he knew that the Father was with him. So how do I respond in the face of humiliation? How do I respond when I'm suffering, when I have doubt, when I'm in despair? Jesus says in the same scripture, you have but one teacher. He's telling us to listen to the Pharisees and to the scribes because they do know the law and they're teaching what has been given to us. But the teacher himself is different. The teacher that we have is God. He's the one who teaches us, and he teaches us in times of humiliation. He teaches us to trust only in him. Jesus says, you are all brothers. In other words, even though he's saying, listen to this one, follow what they tell you to do, he's basically saying, but you all have the same Father. You're all related. He says very clearly, you have but one Father in heaven. If we are to endure the various problems that there are in the world today, the one thing we need to do is not seek direction in the various places that are offering us help. It's not going to be through a politician. It's not going to be through someone who does really good social work. It's not going to be the psychologist. It's not going to be anyone except God himself, who speaks to us in our most difficult times. And if we can listen to that, not run away, that's humility. The prophet Malachi had said, a great king am I, says the Lord of hosts. So he's speaking on behalf of God. And he's saying to the priest, if you don't listen, you made void the covenant. In other words, it's so important that they announce the good news, that they speak about God. Jesus had done the same thing in the gospel, saying, listen to them. And then he says, have we not all the one Father? Has not the one God created us? Again, the prophet Malachi is saying, it's so important that we recognize that our hope is only in God himself. Even in the responsorial psalm this week, we're going to hear, O Lord, my heart is not proud, nor are my eyes haughty, because we are like children. He said, the psalmist says, I've stilled and quieted my soul like a weaned child on its mother's lap. So is my soul within me. It's such a beautiful image. I'm sure that many of you can remember an image in which the child, after nursing, is just sitting with his mother, her mother. It's the most peaceful, it's the most tranquil scene, and we don't want to disturb it at all. And this is exactly what God desires to do with us, that we can rest in Him. Even in the midst of any type of trouble, we can rest in Him. This is also said by St. Paul in his letter to the Thessalonians. He says, we were gentle among you as a nursing mother cares for her children. He knew what it was to be cared for by God, and he knew that this was his mission too as an apostle, to be one who mothered so many children. So I invite you this Sunday to think about this word of Christ in the gospel. He's telling us to listen, and don't worry that the ones that are in charge don't practice what they preach. And he's saying, you have one Father in heaven. He's saying God is speaking. Listen to God who's speaking in these times, even though the ones speaking about him are not perfect. As you listen to the gospel, think about how it touches you and allow God to speak to you. No matter what struggle you're in, just stay there and listen to God, and He will bless you tremendously. So listen to this gospel and have a blessed week. We hope that if you enjoy this presentation, that you'll hit like and let the Capuchins know.